All right, welcome back everyone. Thank you so much for watching. So today I'd like to go through my Azorius Soldiers video version 2 to see if this build performs any better on the mythic ladder than the first one. So the first build we were taking a bit of a higher curve option with Retriever at 5 mana. This one is lower to the ground. We have 8 1-drops here, a slightly more diversified 1-drop package. Notably, Survivor of Corliss, a 1 mana 1/1 first strike. And then, of course, 2 mana, you can exile it from your graveyard to scry 2. Recruitment Officer, which is card advantage, and the Frontliner, which has Unearth. So all of our 1-drops do something other than attack, which is awesome. And of course, they're all soldiers as well. In the 2 mana slot for Valiant Veteran, we do have some counter spells here. So Protect the Negotiators, which can make you soldiers, of course. Hopefully this doesn't get countered back, although if your opponent is able to counter the spell, you're probably losing. We have Zephyr Sentinels to potentially keep some of our creatures safe. Of course, Zephyr Sentinel is not quite a bounce spell because it only targets creatures that you control. We have some Essence Captures here. This card can be interesting because it's double blue. With that being said, sometimes you may have some difficulty casting this. However, getting a counter on one of your creatures can be quite nice, and it's only creature spells, so it's like an Essence Scatter, just double blue instead. We're playing 3 Harbin Vanguard Aviator, so 2 mana 3/2. The stats on this are extraordinarily good. A 2 mana 3/2 flying is insane. That's just incredible stats. We're playing 3 instead of 4 because of the legendary rule. I normally don't like to play full play sets. And of course, if you attack with 5 or more soldiers, they all get flying and +1/+1, which is just insane. 3 Brutal Cathar for interaction. 3 Siege Veteran. Notably, this list has 4 in the trenches, so this is a permanent that buffs your creatures for only 3 mana, which is pretty strong. However, it has the added upside of if you get a little flooded at 6 mana, you can just exile something. You can only do that once, but it's absurdly strong. And then, of course, we have 4 Sky Strike Officer. This is going to draw us cards, make tokens, and also provide flying damage for us. At the top of our curve, we have the Myral. Card is just insane. It has wonderful stats for 4 mana. 3/4 certainly isn't bad. However, it doesn't let your opponent interact with you on your turn, for the most part, and it also provides you with insane amounts of soldiers. You essentially double your soldiers every turn. Nuts. So land-wise, it's a fairly standard package. Looking at the land here, so we have a lot of ways. Again, my concern is I want to be sure we can cast our Essence Capture, or have consistent access to blue mana, and the mana base seems to do pretty well with this 17, 18, 20, 22. Okay, so we're a little low on lands. It's potential we want to cut something for another land. So again, this is the stock list as I pulled it online, and then we'll go over the changes I think we should make after the game. However, my first inclination here is that 22 is not enough, and this Essence Capture, or maybe even just a turn 2 blue spell like a Harbin, will get stuck in our hand quite a bit. Before we get into the games, my suggestion would be to cut one of the In the Trenches for an island, or a fortified beachhead, something, or another Painland, something like that. Maybe just another Painland, actually, or another beachhead, one of those two. But cutting an In the Trenches for another blue source might just be the best play. But we'll play the deck and we'll see what we think. Okay, let's go ahead and get started then. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day as we get into these games. Hopefully this list performs better than the last one. It all depends on what you see on the ladder too. Any 5 games is not necessarily indicative of a deck strength, but it can provide you some clues. Okay, so here we have some interaction, a counterspell. We have 1-drops, 2-drops. We draw a land. We can play our 3-drop. We're on the draw, which is not ideal, but this is okay. Okay, we do have our 3rd land, which is nice. So we could lead off with an island. However, the Frontliner still gives us a way. I guess the most damage to our opponent is going to be Recruitment Officer. Strong chance we just get cut down here, though. The opponent does have cut down. Opts not to play it unless they have full control on, which is possible. Okay, so they play a waste themselves, so they're like an Esper build. This could be a few different things, just depending. I don't think I'm going to play my veteran out here, because I think there's a chance this gets removed. And now the question is, do I want to like cast Frontliner here? Let's just save this the Sentinel. Well, this is why we save Sentinel. Okay. So now we can double spell on our opponent. Or we can leave up counter magic. These type of decks like to play counter spells. I think I like the idea of just attacking for 3, playing Recruitment Officer, and leaving up Protect the Negotiators. So this is where I do get punished for that play, though, with cut down specifically. I guess I did know they had the cut down, though. So maybe, but they could have done this in response to Recruitment Officer, or they may have just let it resolve. The play may have been just to let it resolve, but this still isn't a big deal at all, because we do get to double spell our opponent. And that means they have 1 less cut down for my Harbin. So let's play this and the Frontliner, I believe. No point in playing Valiant Veteran immediately, because you can get the benefit after you load the board with Soldiers. Okay. The additional planes isn't terrible. Okay. Now my opponent will have to pay 3. We don't get the kick, but that's fine by me. Now they'll have to wipe the board or probably lose. Okay, well, no board wipe is quite good. This is fine. You can just now Brutal Cathar the Interceptor. I'm going to save the Recruitment Officer just in case they do have a board wipe, so I can have something to play, and then I can activate this immediately for card advantage. Okay. Alright, so we saw here the power of counter magic in this deck, but also the power of Brutal Cathar. So the card isn't necessarily great at permanently removing threats, obviously, especially against decks with a lot of 1-for-1 removal, but the card is very good at times like that. Your opponent taps out for a large threat to block, and you can remove it for a turn, basically. All right, and let's see, bear with me for just one moment. Alright, sorry about that. My... Okay. So here we have, we don't have any 1-drops, although we have 2 into 3. We can't cast Trenches, obviously. This isn't a great hand, although it's really bad to mulligan 3 lands in best of 1. I'm going to mulligan. I think I clicked mulligan, but you know, this is fine. I'll play Island as well, as my opponent maybe thinks I'm playing blue tempo. Okay, our opponent getting stuck on lands here. Okay, and they have a fading hope, is it? Oh, they had the discard. Oh, that's a thing. Okay, looks like they still have the fading hope. And they're still looking for that land. They find it. Let's just play efficiently here. Then on the following turn, we can Sky Strike Officer with Essence Capture up. If we need to draw an island, though. Clearly, I can't block. If I can get an attack with Mural here, though, I can block. I think my play will probably be in the trenches, hold up Essence Capture, although the Essence Capture isn't great at this point. Okay. Alright, and now we hope we don't die. We'll definitely block with our soldiers, if possible. Can't be blocked. And we were dead. Okay, well, so that's the weakness of playing Essence Capture, obviously. Can't counter spells. So Make Disappear might be a better option. We'll see. But, you know, that was a matchup where we played against an opponent that got stuck on one land for quite a long time. They did have some interaction. Our deck's not the quickest, especially without a 1-drop, but, you know, is what it is. Sometimes you lose like that. Alright, so we do have a 1-mana spell, and we have interaction and a 3-drop, so I think we're in okay shape here. We'll take some pain for white mana this game, but that's why we play it. Oh, this is not a pain land. My apologies. Okay, so that means we cannot play on curve, so we're just going to have to play Island, Essence Capture, Sky Strike Officer, hope for the best. If our opponent doesn't do anything here, we can just Zephyr Sentinel. But they probably think we're just mono blue tempo. Okay, well that's going to get countered. Just develop the officer at this point. Next turn we can play Trenches, or we can play Zephyr Sentinel and Corliss. We have some options here. I think we can just attack and Zephyr Sentinel the officer back to our hand once they try to kill it. Okay, so we'll let this resolve. And then they'll target it.
Fight, but I'm going to end it.
Zephyr Sentinel. Turn this back to our hand. Get our 1/1. Play Warless. Pass turn. Not bad. Okay, sure. I mean, that's a 3-mana removal for our 2-mana play. That gave us value already, so I'm okay with that. I don't think it protects their Wandering Emperor. They need a land.
I've got new moves to teach you.
Okay, well, I think we need to kill Wandering Emperor here rather than play Sky Strike Officer. It's a little annoying, but
I'm never done for good.
we are running out of cards, though. We've drawn a little land heavy, but, you know, at least we can activate our exile effect on the trenches. Okay, and that might be worth it. I think I'm okay giving my opponent another 1/1 for now. Notably, I could also have some interesting plays here. I could get back a creature, but my creature's already dead. I think just getting rid of their wedding announcement's probably for the best.
About my past here.
This is my city,
maybe I'm supposed to wait on that
to protect it.
to hold up my protectors, but my protectors doesn't do much. It'd have to be a big spell that they tap out for like that, and they don't have any cards in hand, and they didn't play anything last turn. Then they sacrificed a land, so I want to go ahead and concede and move on to the next game here. So I did miss a window for a counterspell. Our opponent did have just enough interaction. Okay, so Azorius Soldiers has not performed very well on the ladder at all, so maybe the power level of the deck has fallen considerably. Okay, well this hand is just unplayable. Then again, you know, playing this is also unplayable. We'll keep this. We'll throw away our one of the 2-drops and one of the 3-drops. But given we have also drawn pretty poorly in some of these games, 10 cards might not necessarily be the most indicative. Okay. Not the worst thing to happen to us, but annoying nonetheless. So we will, I mean, it doesn't matter which one we play, really. I guess I should have played the Beachhead there. That way it guaranteed comes in untapped, but... Okay, 3 mana for our 3 mana play. And here, I think I'm just going to play this tapped and then play a trenches. Okay, opponent reloads, not looking good for us here. Well, we just have to cast things. Of course, this means we can't essence capture as well. Imagine our opponent has a lot of removal for this, though. Okay, more land, not going to do it. The mulligan to 5 and drawing all lands doesn't really want to be, although we get to go to combat with this and make a soldier. So Elspeth was their answer. At least we did get a little value out of this.
Travels. Let me show you.
We could hold back
You're
there,
done.
but we don't get the extra soldier, and this buys them more time to develop. I don't think it's necessarily worth it.
Still have much to learn. We must protect
Okay,
the
well
people.
that... Get another land. That's kind of indicative of another Elspeth to me. Alright, so now do they Elspeth minus on veteran trade here?
Finally, I'm home. I am almost sad to see you go.
And I don't want them to start getting activations on this.
I guess that's it then.
Opponent reloads their hand for the second time. That's... I think we've drawn a land every single turn. Yeah, we've actually drawn a land every single turn. I don't think we've drawn an actual card. The Siege Veteran was in my starting hand. The Skystrike Officer and the Veteran were in my starting hand. No, wait, I kept 3 lands. Okay, one of these turns I think we drew something like Essence Capture maybe. Or maybe an In the Trenches, because I threw back a 3-drop. So on one of these turns we drew a regular card. The rest of the turns though, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've drawn 5 lands on my 6 draws. Okay, let's just go ahead and concede and not waste time here. Not let our control opponent get to do the things. Okay, I'm going for a final matchup here. So this deck is not performing well at all. Maybe Soldiers, or Azorius Soldiers at least, perhaps is just much weaker than I originally thought it was, or perhaps I'm just accustomed to my opponents drawing much better than what I have here. They have not, whenever I play up against Soldiers, they do not, the games do not look like this, like what I've been playing. Now this hand looks reasonable, but I'm also playing up against decks with a lot of interaction, and maybe this deck just doesn't perform well. So maybe there's just a lot more interaction on the arena ladder. Like, yeah, we haven't played up against like a single mono red or mono black. We're playing up against just, you know, these 3 color type decks. Okay, so we could just hold up our negotiators. But is that really what my deck does? Hold up counter magic? It's an awkward place to be. But now they get to just start playing enchantments and making this huge. So like that could have been countered. And then they got the double spell on this turn. So it's a weird spot. Like, turn 2 in a creature deck, are you really supposed to hold up counter magic? It's a hard situation, and I don't necessarily know what the answer is. Like here, I don't want them to keep a 4/4 that's going to continue growing, but at the same time, I don't want them to have a Jukai Naturalist, although they are low on cards, so they could probably just cast their spells anyway. I think I am just going to Brutal Cathar the Kami here to save some life. Start getting in with the recruitment officer. Of course, I'll take a trade if they want to go for that. Alright, there's Catilda. So I can take away their Jukai Naturalist. I don't think it's necessarily worth it though. The Catilda has lifelink, so they're going to start winning races. Seems like I'm just playing 1 mana behind every turn. I'm not getting to double spell. I could get in 3 points of damage with trenches this turn, but I think I'd rather just draw a card on the Sky Strike Officer. Actually, I can't even tap this because it has Summoning Sickness. But I still think this is the right way so we can get the attack in on the following turn. If I survive, I can maybe exile the Catilda. Okay, well, Brutal Cathar isn't terrible. So maybe it's a Brutal Cathar play. Could... I'm playing very poorly. Alright, we'll leave up counter magic. We don't have room for kicker, but that's okay. And I should have done this last turn, but I just clicked through it with the Sky Strike Officer. Okay, Essence Capture certainly isn't bad, because now we can play our trenches. And we can still activate our Sky Strike Officer. I missed a card I could have drawn. It's terrible. Like, Summoning Sickness doesn't apply to this. That's so stupid. My apologies for the misplay. Hopefully the card doesn't matter too much here, though. Well, I can't capture that. Arbin isn't bad. Actually, just play all the things this turn. Actually, they might just be dead. Yeah, I think they're just dead with Harbin and Valiant Veteran. Okay, well, wasn't expecting a win against enchantments, but sometimes that's just how it goes. Okay, so overall matchups were fairly poor that we received. We're set up to perform really well in against creature-based matchups, but if there's not a lot of that on the Mythic Ladder at the moment, then perhaps it's not the best deck to be playing. So based on we finished with a 2-3 record, which is subpar. You know, that's just it's just unplayable, really. We had one drop some of our games. We had awkward times where we were left with this counter magic up, but we had too many 3-drops in our hand, so the deck is heavy on 3-drops. Maybe there are some things that need to be cut. Maybe in the trenches is just too much of a liability. So maybe this is just something you do not play. The essence capture was dead half the time. Actually, most of the time, this card was just dead into the decks we were playing against. Even right there against our Selesnya Enchantments opponent, I was able to cast the essence capture, but it had no effect on the game. I was going to win with my draw regardless. So it didn't perform anything in half the time. Actually, more than half the time, like pretty much 100% of the time. Other than that, it was completely dead. And the one time it was good, didn't mean anything. Harbin was good the one time we drew it. This might not be the list either. We'll have to continue our tuning of the Azorius Soldiers list. So if this is the type of list that interests you, my recommendations, in all honesty, based on what I was playing up against on the ladder, I think I would rather have, we can keep the Protect the Negotiators. I think this is probably fine. Other than Essence Capture, maybe we want something along the lines of Make Disappear. I think Make Disappear would probably be a little bit better. The Survivor of Corliss, honestly, I think I'd just rather have 2 more recruitment officers. Or 2 more frontliners for the Unearth. It really just depends. So I think mine would probably look something like this. And then I'm not a, if you want the trenches, you could do it, but well, in true arena fashion, we are lagging terribly. And then although we got flooded in a few of our games, we have a very small amount of lands, like the amount of lands that I'm uncomfortable playing. So if you really want to try out the in the trenches build though, you know, this is probably the list I would play. It looks something like this. These are my recommended improvements after one run through. So if I continued tuning this list, this is probably what it would be. And then we would continue from there. But this list performed slightly better than the previous one. It's still not great, but, you know, a little bit of an improvement nonetheless. We were playing up against a lot of control decks, so I'd like to get one of these videos where I'm able to play up against mostly creatures. But again, I don't want to shelter anyone from any of the information. This deck did not feel good at all. I do not recommend it. So with that being said, I will go ahead and continue my search for the proper Azorius Soldiers list. I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you so much. I do apologize for the one misplay where I did not draw a card on Skystrike Officer. I realized my misplay very quickly after the fact. But otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching.